Freddy here, welcome back to the Gear Obsession channel. In this episode, we will be taking a look at the Wheeler Engineering trigger pull scale, so please stay tuned. I came across this in a local gun shop, so I paid a little bit more than you could probably find this online. I paid $25. Again, I like supporting my local gun shop, but you should be able to find it for about $20, $18, something like that online, Amazon, cheaper than dirt, and so forth. Now, the next question you might be asking yourself is, why do I need something like this? Well, that's a very good question. And the answer is, you probably don't really need it unless you like to tinker with your trigger. You know, you like to go ahead and disassemble your firearm and, do a trigger job on it. Now, before we go any further, I'm going to show you two guns here. Both have been safety checked multiple times, and I do not have the ammo for these guns in this room. With that being said, here's a Nagant Revolver, notorious for having a extremely heavy trigger pull. So this would be an ideal candidate for a trigger job that you could do at home. And there's many things online that show you what to do, and you can follow the instructions and do it, and you don't need to be a brain surgeon. So you want to be able to see if what you did was successful, so that you need something to be able to gauge the difference before and after. That's where this guy comes in. Another example is, here's a Glock. Glocks are extremely easy to work on, extremely easy. And you could drop in different trigger groups and lighten it, or heavy ones. You get like the New York trigger, and that gives it a heavier trigger. So you have to be very purposeful when pulling the trigger, or you could get a very light one for competition. Again, you want some way of testing it to see if you were successful. So there's some reasons why. And again, it's not very expensive. This is probably the cheapest trigger pull scale you could find. There are better ones. By Lyman makes a digital one for $50, and though you could get even more expensive ones. But this one will be accurate within a couple of ounces. I'm just going to quickly read to you what's on the front of this. It accurately measures trigger pull force. It's easy to read. Sliding indicator automatically stops at max reading. This has a range of 8 ounces to 8 pounds. So if you got a Nagant Revolver, the way you receive it, however you purchase this, it's going to be off the scale of this, because this has even the single action is probably over 8 pounds. So you won't be able to do that before thing, or you just need to buy a better trigger scale. And it has a rubberized tip that grips the trigger. And where is it made in? I'm sorry, it's made in China. But it's inexpensive. Okay, so just one other thing. There's some instructions on the back, and the very first thing it says is to verify that the firearm is unloaded. And then you cock the firearm. I'll tell you what, let's open this up and let's do the rest. Here's the scale out of the package. Not much to look at. Plastic, metal rod with some plasti dip on the end that goes into the trigger. You have a spring you could see internally that sort of hangs onto this rod, and you can see how this piece of plastic here sort of pushes this little yellow thing up and down a scale that goes from 8 ounces to 8 pounds. And you can see that wherever your trigger would break as this is getting pulled, let's say it breaks right there, then you read the scale and see where it is. Very simple design, basic. That's why it only costs the basic low price of $18. Again, if you want something that has a much wider range of scale and more accurate than this, you're going to pay more money. Well, like $50 or something like that for a nice digital. Maybe by Lyman. Safety checked, as I said. I'm not going to keep on showing that to you. Now, you can see how the trigger came forward. That means it's cocked, ready to fire on the Glock. Another thing with the Glock, when pulling the trigger, you got to make sure that this little safety in here is getting pressed in. If not, then you're going to be yanking on this thing forever, and it's not going to do nothing. That's sort of why I picked the Glock as one of the guns to do this example. So let's go ahead and see what we get. I'm going to go ahead and sort of pull this about at the same angle that I would that my finger would be pulling it. So you would put your finger in, onto the trigger right about there, and we'll go ahead and pull this and see what we get. And I'm pulling this. There we go. And right there, 6.5 pounds, which is exactly what a stock Glock is about. And you want to do this 3 times, take an average, because this is not super accurate. Now, for fun, I have a Mosin Nagant. I'm sorry, not a Mosin Nagant, but a Nagant Revolver. Notoriously heavy trigger. There's no way double action would be anywhere close to being within this scale. But single action, I don't know. Probably not, but we'll go ahead and see if it is or not. Where are you? I'm trying to work on the camera here. Go ahead and pull that and see if we're anywhere within. I'm trying to keep that on the scale there so you can see it. Nah, not even. It's way beyond what the scale can read. So this would require a serious trigger job. All right. And where is I brought in another gun. I safety checked it, but since I didn't tell you I safety checked it at the beginning of the video, I'll go ahead and show you that one. Okay. Now this should have a pretty good light trigger, like a 3.5 single action trigger out of the box. This is a Smith & Wesson 686 Plus. So let's go ahead and put that in there. Let's see what we get. Alright, there we go. And we'll go ahead and pull that back, and yep, 3.5. Amazing. I'm not sure if I got that in the camera, so I'm gonna go ahead and see if I could get everything in this time so you can sort of see. Go ahead and pull that back. There we go, and you can see that's 3.5. Very nice. Now let's talk about rimfire. I didn't mention this, but if you have a rimfire gun, you don't want to be dry firing, which is what we're doing here. With most rimfire, the only way to know for sure is you have to read the instruction manual that came with it, or go online and read it, or contact the manufacturer if it doesn't say. One way around that is to use snap caps, which are like fake bullets made out of plastic or some other material that you could stick in the chamber so the firing pin hits that and not something internal that will cause damage to the firing pin. Also, another reason why you might want something like this that I failed to mention in the last scene is that they sell adjustable triggers that you could sort of drop into guns, or some guns do come, rifles, pistols come with a adjustable trigger. So, you may tweak something and then you don't know how many pounds of pull it requires. You could use something like this so you can sort of adjust it accordingly. There is a such thing as having too light a trigger, where you basically have something that's unsafe. I'm not going to go into the specifics on what's safe and what's not. That's you could debate that on the forums for fun if that's your thing. But a 1 pound trigger for a defensive handgun is asking for trouble. So again, having something like this would be very good, and it's inexpensive. So do I recommend it? Sure, I recommend it. Remember, I rate things based on their price and then the quality in association with that price. So I'll give it a 8 out of 10. It loses some points because this end here sort of, you see how that sort of flips around, so you got it on the trigger and it's sort of moving. I would have liked it if it just was a little bit flattened out, and maybe material that's maybe a little more grippy, like a rubber, because it sort of moves around in there a little bit. That's kind of annoying. I don't know if you saw that in the video the last scene that I just shot. So it loses some points there, but it still reads accurately. I went ahead and went online, took a look, and saw what these guns should be stock out of the box, and this was right in the ballpark, so I know it's fairly accurate. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining me here at the Gear Obsession channel. I really appreciate every friend, viewer, subscriber, and you, and I hope you have a great evening. Take care. Bye.